Good morning, boys. Welcome again. Today we'll start with the second part of our first chapter, that is matter. In the last video, we have already studied about matter, atoms and molecules, kinetic theory of matter, and postulates of the kinetic theory. Now, in this video, we'll discuss about the effects of the temperature on matter, the properties of the three states of matter, then the transition of phases, that is transition from one phase to another, then the fourth state of matter, that is plasma, next the fifth state of matter, that is BEC, Bose-Einstein condensate, and the last topic that we will discuss is law of conservation of mass. So let's first discuss the effects of temperature on matter. I have already mentioned that kinetic energy is directly linked and measured in terms of temperature. So you can see here, when there will be more heat or when we'll increase the temperature, the motion or the movements of the particles increases, and simply we can say that the kinetic energy increases, which causes the particles to move away from each other. Hence, the intermolecular force of attraction decreases and the intermolecular space will be more, as there will be space formed between the particles due to its motion. So boys, here you have to note one thing, that intermolecular force of attraction is inversely proportional to intermolecular space. In reverse, if we decrease the amount of energy or decrease the temperature of the system, say as matter, the particles will lose its energy in the surrounding and will come close to each other. Hence, the intermolecular force of attraction will increase and the intermolecular space will decrease. Now, next we are going to discuss the properties of the three states of matter, as you can see in the given table, where the first column is of property and the respective column is of particular state of matter, that is solid, liquid and gas. So one by one we'll discuss all the properties. The very first property is mass, which is definite in all the three cases, that is of solids, liquids and gases, because all the three states of matter is made up of particles. The next property is given as shape. Now, as far as shape is concerned, in case of solid, the particles cannot move from place to place. Therefore, it is rigid and have fixed shape. In case of liquid, the particles move around each other, therefore is a fluid and take the shape of the container. In case of gas, the particles are far apart, therefore moves in all direction and can flow to completely fill the container. Now the third one, volume. In case of solids and liquids, the volume is definite, that is fixed. And in case of gas, the volume is indefinite, because there is more intermolecular space between the particles. Now, we'll discuss fourth, fifth and sixth point together, as compressibility, fluidity and rigidity are interlinked with each other. So, in case of solid, the compressibility and fluidity is not possible. In case of liquid, it is almost negligible, and in gases, it is highly compressible because in case of solid, the intermolecular space is almost absent or negligible, whereas in liquid, it is more as compared to solid and highest in case of gases. Mentioned earlier that in case of solid, fluidity is not possible, and in case of liquids and gases it is possible because the particles can flow around. Now the next property is rigidity. Solids are highly rigid because of the closed structure and the particles are in regular pattern. In case of liquid, it is less rigid, and in gases it is not at all rigid because the intermolecular space is more in liquids as compared to solids and is highest in gases as compared to both solids and liquids. Now let's talk about diffusion, which is slow in solids, fast in liquids and very fast in gases because the intermolecular space is least in solid, is more in liquid and is highest in gases. Next category is space that we have already done it before, that intermolecular space is least in solid, is more in liquid and is highest in gases. The intermolecular force of attraction is highest in solids, is less in liquids as compared to solids, and is least in gases as compared to both solids and liquids. The next topic that we'll take is transition of states of matter. Transition of state or phase of matter is a phenomenon of change of matter from one state to another. It involves change in the energy level of matter. Solid is the state with lowest energy and gas is the one with highest energy. So let's take an example of ice. You can see in the diagram, when it is kept at room temperature, it gradually changes to liquid. And when we increase the energy in the form of heat, it changes to gas. Conversely, if heat is extracted from a gas at constant pressure, it would change to a liquid and then to a solid. In this process, there are two types of energy which play an important role in phase change. They are kinetic energy and potential energy. The kinetic energy increases when we apply heat, and there is also increase in temperature. Potential energy, the potential energy also increases with the increase in kinetic energy, but it does not raise the temperature because increase in potential energy is utilized in overcoming the intermolecular force of attraction. Hence, on the basis of this, there are two types of phase change. First, that is endothermic, where matter absorbs heat from the surroundings, for example, melting, vaporization and sublimation. Next category is exothermic, where matter releases heat to the surroundings, for example, condensation, freezing and deposition. Now, one by one, we'll cover the definition of each process. So, you can see again in the diagram, first we are having is melting. Melting is also called as fusion, is the endothermic change and the change of state from solid to liquid on application of heat at a constant temperature. The temperature at which the solid phase changes to liquid is the melting point of that solid. Now, next, you can see the change of liquid to gas in diagram is the endothermic change of liquid to a gas on application of heat at a constant temperature. So we can say the temperature at which the change of liquid phase to gas takes place is the boiling point of that liquid. The next is condensation, also called as liquefaction, is the exothermic change of gas to liquid by the loss of heat at a constant temperature. You can see now we are moving from right hand side to left hand side. So while moving from right hand side, that is from vapor to liquid or from liquid to ice, the process is exothermic. Exothermic means the heat is given out to the surrounding. Hence, the temperature at which the change of gas phase to liquid phase takes place is called the condensation point of the gas. Next is freezing, also called as solidification. It's the exothermic change of liquid to solid by the loss of heat at constant temperature. Now you can conclude that the temperature at which the liquid changes to solid is the freezing point of the liquid, and this temperature is same as the melting point of the solid formed. Now the important category is sublimation. There are certain substances which even in the solid state have very weak forces of attraction holding the particles or molecules together, and the atmospheric pressure helps to keep the molecules close by in such substances. So on application of heat, these substances directly get converted to the gaseous phase instead of changing to a liquid, and this process is known as sublimation. For example, we are having naphthalene balls, solid carbon dioxide also called as dry ice, iodine, camphor, etc. And the reverse process of sublimation can also be observed, and this process is called as deposition. A gas is converted directly to its solid phase with a very quick loss of energy as heat. We are having example, frost formation is one of the best example of deposition in nature. Now let's talk about the latent heat. Latent heat is defined as the heat or energy that is absorbed or released during a phase change of a substance. It could be either from a gas to a liquid or liquid to solid and vice versa. Here we should note one thing, that in latent heat, the temperature of the substance remains constant, and this is the only reason of having a fixed boiling point and melting point of different substances. As in case of water, we are having boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius and melting point is 0 degrees Celsius. As far as the mechanism is concerned, latent heat is the work that is needed to overcome the attractive forces that hold molecules and atoms together in a substance. In simple terms, the energy that is required by a substance to either freeze, melt, or boil is said to be latent heat. Now, you can see here in phase change diagram where there is change of state is taking place, the temperature is constant, mentioned as latent heat of fusion in case of transition from solid to liquid. In this process of conversion from solid to liquid, the absorption of energy takes place to push the molecules into a wider, more fluid volume. And the heat released during the reverse process is called latent heat of freezing, that is transition from liquid to solid. Now that once the transition of solid to liquid is over, again the temperature of the liquid increases. In the same way, the heat necessary for conversion from liquid to gas is the latent heat of vaporization, and the heat released in the reverse process is called latent heat of condensation. So here is the concept of latent heat. I hope you all have understood and getting my points. Apart from the three major phases of matter on Earth, a fourth very important phase of matter exists in the universe, and which is plasma. Plasmas are a lot like gases, but differ from gases in being much more energized. They are actually made up of super excited positively and negatively charged particles instead of molecules or atoms. You must have studied this in class 7, boys, that positively charged ions are called as cations and negatively charged ions are called as anions. So, plasma is created by adding energy to a gas so that some of its electrons leave its atoms, and this is only called as ionization. And if a plasma loses its heat, the ions reforms a gas emitting the energy which had caused them to ionize. Boys, you can see in the diagram, and we can conclude that over 99% of the matter in the visible universe is believed to be a plasma. And when the atoms in a gas are broken up, the pieces that are formed are called electrons and ions. A very good example of plasma is in plasma TV and neon lights. Now, the fifth phase of matter is Bose-Einstein condensate is created by man and was predicted by Satyendra Bose and Albert Einstein in 1924. It is created at a super cold temperature called as absolute zero with the value minus 273 degree Celsius, where the particles become super unexcited. Here you have to note that the particles become super unexcited, lose almost all energy, show no movement, and all the particles clump together as electrons and ions. A very good example of plasma is plasma TV and neon lights. Now, the fifth important phase of matter is Bose-Einstein condensate is another phase which is created by man, and the possibility of this phase was predicted by Satyendra Bose and Albert Einstein in 1924. It is created at a super cold temperature called as absolute zero, where particles become super unexcited. You can note that the particles become super unexcited, lose almost all energy, show no movement, and all the particles clump together.
For your better understanding, here are the 5 states of matter, that is BEC, solids, liquids, gases and plasmas, where BEC present at the extreme left is super unexcited phase and plasma present at the extreme right is much more energized.
The last topic of the chapter is law of conservation of mass. We know that atoms are the smallest particles of an element that can take part in a chemical reaction. During any chemical change, no particles are created or destroyed. The atoms are simply rearranged from the reactants to the products, and the products may have different properties than the reactants. So, mass is never lost or gained in chemical reaction. We say that mass is always conserved. In other words, the total mass of the products at the end of the reaction is always equal to the total mass of the reactants in the beginning. Therefore, the law of conservation of mass states that the mass of the reactants and the mass of the products in a chemical reaction are equal. I have shown one example here. You can see in first test tube we are having sulfur of mass 32 gram. Then next test tube we are having is of iron weighing 56 gram. When we add both the test tubes, when we add sulfur in iron together and heat it, we get iron sulfide as the product weighing 88 gram. How we are getting 88 gram here? By summing up the masses, individual masses of sulfur and iron, we are getting equal mass of iron sulfide on the right hand side as individual masses of sulfur and iron on the left hand side. So here it proves that the mass of the products was found to be the same. But we have to keep one thing in mind, that to prove the law of conservation of mass, it is necessary to carry out the experiment in a closed container. Otherwise, if a product is gaseous, it may escape and the desired result will not be obtained. For example, when wood is burned in air, ash is formed. The mass of ash is less than that of wood. This is because mass of air before the reaction and the mass of gaseous products formed after the reaction are not taken into consideration. This concludes our first chapter. Please find the attached notes and worksheets which you all have to do in your fair notebook. Till then, stay home, stay safe.